the one, the only, Bencio Good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube, Just Daf It. We are doing the final daf in Masechah Sotah. We are finishing Masechah Sotah after 49 dafim, 48 because it starts from daf Beis. But this is really amazing, Shmuel, right? Shmuel, come here. I have to tell you something. You know, a lot of this shiurim I give by myself. I think almost everyone I give Masechah Sotah myself. But my inspiration in life is from Shmuel Silver over here. You see? When I see him in the talus, let me see your tefillin over there. Get the tefillin. No, on the shal rosh. Put it down. There you go. He walks around here with his talus and tefillin. I am amazed by the piety of Shmuel Silver. I can't wear a talus and tefillin for more than 20 minutes. He has it on for at least 3 hours every morning. He walks around. He schmoozes with people. You know, they say only people on such a high level can keep their talis and tefillin on and still not go overboard, because you're not allowed to have levity with the tefillin. So, and with the talis. So Shmuel, thank you for inspiring me. And I don't know what I would do, because, you know, this guy Eli Stefanski, he's starting next week a tour on Gittin. You heard about this?
A tour on
Masechah's Gittin. He's going on the first. He's a celebrity tour. He's going to 5 locations in America and giving the first 5 shiurim on Masechah's
yeah,
Gittin.
really? Where is he? Where's he going to be?
Are you in America? I think he's going to be in all the places. Muncie, Borough Park, Lakewood,
Come to Queens?
the 5 towns. I think even Queens.
Oh, yeah?
And Yeshiva Central Queens is giving one of them.
YCQ?
YCQ. I went there. I went to YCQ when I was younger.
Oh, great.
I grew up in Queens also.
You
So
did, right?
Eli Stefanski is destroying me. I'm not even head to head with him. I get no viewers. He gets on average 2, 3, 4, 5,000 viewers for each daf yomi share. I honestly would like people to compare my shear to Eli Stefanski. Listen to one shear of mine and listen to the same shear, the same daf with Eli Stefanski. There's no way. We're not even in the same boat. We're not even close.
Like the Pepsi challenge you wanted to do, the Dakiomi
You know,
challenge.
I'm like Shohei Ohtani. You know, I'm the best pitcher, the best hitter, and he's in the minor leagues. He's never gonna make it to the major leagues.
You'll have to cut that out of the
Minor leagues is pretty good. Listen, most baseball players, even if you're good at little league, Shmuel, you ever played little league before?
Little League.
Okay, Shmuel didn't play little league. We used to play against Kew Garden. He's
I
from
was
Kew Garden
given-
Hills.
I was given the
We used to dominate Kew Garden Hills. I remember we were from Hillcrest in Queens. We used to dominate Kew, and I was the pitcher. We used to dominate them. I used to strike them all out. That was, you know, Kew Garden Hills wasn't the threat. It was the other Hillcrest teams. Those were the threat. Jamaica States wasn't good either. It was only Hillcrest. I remember one year we
What
lost.
did they call themselves? Hillcrest?
The Hillcrest Little League baseball team. There were 3 teams. There were so many kids.
Wow.
It was actually one year where, you know, they had a bunch of kids, and they only had 2 teams. They only had 2 coaches, and each team was gonna have like 11 players. That means none of them were gonna play. Some of them are not gonna play all the time. So my father's like, it's not fair. They're like, we need a coach. So he said, I'll be the coach. My father volunteered.
Wow.
So, but they said, okay, so we're taking all the good players and putting them on one team, and you can take whoever's left. But he did get me because I'm his son, and I was the best player.
Wow.
So I pitched, and we played the best team and it was only 2 rounds in the playoffs. All 3 Hillcrest teams made it to the playoffs. I was playing against the best team, and I beat them 3-2.
Wow.
We beat them.
That's a great story.
Just me and one other guy who was decent on our team. He's a
You
rabbi.
dominated them.
I dominated them. And then, listen to this. We played the other Hillcrest team in the championship game. And the rule was, since it was the same day, the games, and they cared about their arms, we were young kids, they said you could only pitch 6 innings or 7 innings. And the game was only 6 innings. So I pitched all 6 innings of the first game. That means I was only allowed to pitch 1 more inning in the last game. If I would have pitched both games, we would have won. But so what happened was, the one inning I pitched, I needed to face the other team's best batter, and I struck him out. I don't remember this. My father told me I struck him out,
Wow.
and we would have won.
Wow.
And then I went to the umpire and I said, I think the guy tipped the ball. I said, I think he tipped the ball. It was a foul tip.
You're
The
a
catcher
good
said-
man. You're a good egg.
And he said, okay, if the pitcher had missed to it, I don't know what kind of umpire this is. The umpire said, no, I don't care. I called it.
Right.
But he said that, and it gave. And then I threw the next pitch. The guy hit a pop up to right field, and Little League, we had our team wasn't very good, and the guy, he was in right field. The right fielder is the worst player. You put him in right field.
That's where I used to go, right?
Yeah, and you put the ball actually went into the guy's mitt. Can you believe it? It was like we were like in 5th grade or 6th grade. The ball went into his mitt, and then it slowly rolled out, and we ended up losing the game.
Oh
And to this day, my father tells me it was because of my honesty. He's proud of me that we lost the championship game.
You are like the George Washington of our generation. It's
That's
true.
right. That's right.
George Washington, he didn't tell a lie.
Yeah, I only have $1 bills. I'm looking for $100 bills though. The $1 bills aren't worth too much, especially with inflation.
That's a beautiful story.
It's a beautiful story, and Shmuel, one day maybe your kids will play in Little League, right?
Oh, amen. I hope so.
Amen. It's a big thing. All right, let's get started. From the bottom, Mem Chedem Abayz, Apaske Anshe Amana. The bottom Mem Chedem Abayz, 4 lines from the bottom. Amar, once the base was destroyed, people of Emunah, the Gemara interprets, people that had faith in God, stopped. Amar B'Yitzchak Elu B'nei Adam, Shein Ma'aminim B'Kadosh Baruch Hu. They have trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Will take care of their needs. The Sanya Lezer Gadol Omer, Kol Mishiyesh Lo Pas Masalo. He has enough to eat. He has bread in his basket. The Omer Ma'ochel L'Machar. He's not confident that he's going to have food for tomorrow. Eino Ela Miktani Amana. He's a person who has a lack of faith. So the Gemara says, "V'hainu da'amar Reb Lezer ma'id yichsiv ki mi baz liyom katnus mi garam tzadikim sheis baz be'shulchanam la'asad lava." Who causes that tzadikim should lose their portion, their full portion? Olam haba katnus shayabahen. So as I said, liyom katnus. Yom is olam haba katnus. They acted like children. They always wanted more and more. They weren't happy that they had enough in the bank account to survive. They kept on davening for more. Shalom aminu b'Kadosh Baruch Hu. They didn't trust HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Rav Amar Eluk Tanei Bnei Risha Yisrael. He has a different explanation of the pasuk. These are talking about the young children of the Rishoyim in Klal Yisrael. Top of Mem Tet Amin Aleph. Shemavazin din aviyam la'asud lavo. They shorten or they curb the full extent of the punishment of their father's olam haba. Omnum lefaneinu ribonu shelo me'achar she'ata asid lipara mehen lama hikisa shinayim bam. You're going to pay them their full due. Why did you treat them poorly? You'll have their children die. So therefore, Russia, sometimes his children will die early in order that his parents shouldn't get fully punished in olam haba or in Gehenim. Amar Rabbi Yilah bar Yevarchia imalei tfilaso shel David. Hayu kol Yisrael mochi ravav. If it wasn't for David's daven, his prayers, all people in Klal Yisrael will be selling basically stains on their shirts. Shenemar Shisa Hashem mora lehem. Give them Hashem mastery. People at that time basically were very poor. They were very poor. The only thing they can sell was stains on their shirts, or at least shirts with stains on them. He daven, they should be wealthier. If Chavach didn't daven, are you based on Medichamim, Miskasim, Betalas Akas? Klal Yisrael will be so poor that two Talmidei Chachamim would only have one blanket to cover them. Oskim b'Torah, and they would learn Torah. Shneimar Hashem Shemati Shemacha Yeresi Hashem Balecha B'Kerev Shonim. Chayeyu. Al Tikrei B'Kerev Shonim, Ela B'Kerev Shnai, B'Kiruv Shnayim. Right? It says Hashem, you heard my tefillas. B'Kerev Shonim, in the amount of years. So the Gemara interprets that B'Kerev Shnayim, Shonim is B'Kiruv Shnayim, that when they're so poor that two Talmidei Chachamim have to cover themselves with one blanket, still they're successful and they're able to live and even thrive in Torah. Amar Rabbi Yilah bar Yevarchia, two Talmidei Chachamim are walking on a path. They're not talking about Divrei Torah. They should be burnt with fire. Elisha and Eliyahu are walking, and a fiery chariot passed between them. Presumably they were talking about Torah. That's why the fiery chariot didn't consume them. If they did not talk about Torah, they would have been burnt. Bar Yivarche, Shaitam Mincham Adarim Biyaracha, Shaitam Mincham who live in the same city, but ain't Nochim Lazer Zeh Balacha. They're supposed to agree. You see in America, they have the Vad of the 5 towns, the Vad of Queens, all the Rabbanim agree to make a common halacha to make sure everything is smooth, it's easy for people. If they don't agree with each other, each one has their own kashrus, their own psak. Echad meis ve'echad gola. One will eventually die, and one will be exiled. When there's a lack of knowledge, we'll see in a second. Vein das al Torah. The Gemara says das means Torah. Shenemar nidmu bli das. My nation became silent without knowledge, and it's a reference to Torah. So therefore, if there's no das, there's no Torah, because there's a machlokas about how to paskin. So therefore, one person will kill and one person will be exiled, like the Torah says. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Brei Rabbi Chi. Kol Talmid Chacham ha'osek b'Torah mitoch hadchak. If Talmid Chacham engages in Torah learning when it's very difficult for him, tfilas nishmas, his tfilos will be answered. Shenemar, or at least be heard. Shenemar ki am b'tzion yoshev b'Yushalayim bachal osivcha chanu chichancha l'kol zachacha k'mashmao anech. V'chsiv b'asrei v'natan Hashem lachem lechem tzar umayim lachatz. When they're sitting in Sion can also be reference to Torah, right? They'll cry out, and Hashem, when He hears your tefillas, He'll answer you. He'll answer you. And then it says afterwards, it's talking about a case where they have very little bread and very little water. Nonetheless, Hashem, because they're still learning Torah, even though in a difficult situation, Hashem will provide their needs. Rabbi Baba Omer, Mashbin also miziv shchina. Not only that, but it'll also have the splendor of God on him, on his face. The Pasuk continues, your eyes will see your teacher. It'll be evident to people that you're seeing your teacher, because it'll have a glowy countenance. Rabbi Yaakov Bar Chanina Amar Af Ein Par Gunino B'fon of the curtain of God, the secrets of God won't be held back from Shnemar. Your teacher will no longer clothe himself. He'll bear his knowledge to you. So the Gemara said, the Mishnah says, once the Beis Hamikdash died, there was no sweetness to the fruit. Every day after the Churban Habayis, the curse of the coming day is worse than the previous day. In the Klolos, it says, in the morning you'll say, I wish it was night. And now you'll say, I wish it was morning. Hi Boker, what morning? At night you say, I wish I have the morning tomorrow. Miyadam I have it. Do you know I was going to be good? It could be worse. Ela the Chalif is talking about the Boker that already passed. At night you'll say, I wish it was like the morning, because it keeps on getting worse. In the time of the Klolos, especially after the Churban Habayis, how does the world stay around if it deteriorates every day? Akdusha the Sidra of Ayheshme Rabba Da'agata. 2 things, right? You say twice a day in Shemona Esra and in davening in the morning, right? You say Kedusha the Sidra, or you say Kadosh Kadosh Kadosh, and you say Baruch Hashem Baruch you say Kadosh Kadosh Kadosh, and then you say forgetting whatever Kedusha the Sidra you say in Berachos Kriya Shema, and also in Uvalat Zion, also Yeheshme Rabba, when you learn Torah, you're allowed to say Kaddish afterwards. The land got tired and it got very dark, like death. Below Sidarim, there was no order. Hayeshadarim Tofiyam Ofel. If there is Seder, there is organization, right? You daven Berachos Kriya Shema the right way. You say Kaddish after learning. You learn every day. You say Kaddish afterwards. If there's order to your day, so then the darkness will dissipate. This basically echoing what it said in the Mishnah, that if there's a lack of Tara, there's tumas hameis now, so therefore people can't have a full experience of the taste and the smell of good taste and good smell. Meiser, the fact that people don't tithe properly, bital shuman dagan, the fatness of the grain, right? Wheat products don't taste as good as they used to. Ravuna ashkach tumrasa de cheninusa. Ravuna found a date that was a gracious type of date. It was a very fatty type of date. Shakla karcha b'tzudra. He wanted to hold on to it, to have it maybe on Shabbos or for dessert. He wrapped it up in a handkerchief. Also, Rabba his son came. Amrulay morchina recha de cheninusa. He smelled, even though he didn't see it, he smelled this fatty date. Amalei b'ni tari yesh b'cha. You must be a pure person. Yava nahale, he gave it to him. Adachi, in the meantime, Asa Abba Bere, Abba, the son of Rabba, who was the grandson of Rav Huna, came. Shakla Yava nahale. So his father, Rabba, took it and gave it to his son Abba. Amalei b'ni samachta es liba v'kisa es. You made me happy, but also you basically caused my teeth to chatter. Hainu dam reinshi rachame da Abba abni rachama debni abni dahabule. Right, even though grandparents love their grandkids, really they love their sons, and sons love their own sons more than the grandparents love their grandsons. Rav Bar Yaakov, Itfal Be Rav Yaakov Bar Bardi. Rav Bar Yaakov, he took into his house, basically with his grandson, the son of his daughter, Yaakov. Ki Gadol Amrle Ashkai and Maya. When he became older, he said, "Serve me water." Kibbut Abayim, he's supposed to serve your parents food and drink. Amr Lo Lav Brichana. He said, "I'm not your son, I'm your grandson." Rabbi Bar Barta Ana. Even though you raised me in your house, nonetheless, I'm the son of your daughter. I'm only a grandson. You see here clearly that a grandson does not have to honor their grandparents, even though I believe the Shulchan Aruch says that a grandson has to honor his grandparents, and maybe even his grandmother. If the Gemara is clear, for a grandfather, you do not have to be mechaber them. The Mishnah says, "V'pum shal Spanios gazra al Taras chasanim." Before, immediately, right before the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, right, Vespasian, right, the story in Gittin, Vespasian laid a siege on Yerushalayim. And then the whole story happened that he was informed that the emperor died. He became emperor, and he left the siege in the hands of Titus. Gazra al Taras chasanim. So when he was still laying the siege, before Titus, so they knew, Klal Yisrael knew it was a time of distress. So they made a gzeira that when grooms get married, they shouldn't have wreaths around. You think wreath is like a Christian type of thing, but they have to have wreaths around the head of the chassan. Val Eros. We'll see what Eros was. But Pumo shel Titus. Then when Vespasian left, and he left the army in the hand of Titus, Gazru al Titus kalos, al ataros kalos, that the crowns around the heads of kalos shouldn't wear. Shal yomad adam esbeno. We'll see they didn't completely abrogate Kala wearing a crown. Adam as Beno. Yavanis, a person shouldn't teach his son Greek. We'll see it, the Gemara explains this. But the poem was Achron. Finally, Titus was started breaching the walls. Gazru Shalotetzi Akala Paryon. They made a gzeira that a bride shouldn't go out to Sochair. She shouldn't have a festive walk, or to her chuppah in the middle of the year, in the middle of the city. The rabbis, though, said it's permissible. They said, no, this gzeira, because these gzeiras are still applied today. They made the gzeira then, but unless someone else, a Beis Din, which is gadol b'chachma of a minion, comes and says that is this batel, this is still today. Therefore, the rabbanim at that time said, really, that is still okay. Meir died. Batu Moshe Mishal. He was very good. He was a big magid, right? Meir. He was someone who told nice stories, nice parables. When he died, the real Magidim stopped. Mishemeis, even though I have Pesach Kron, but not the same as Rabbi Meir. Mishemeis ben Azai, Balu Hashakjan, Ben Azai died. People who were very diligent in their learning, sat for a long time and learned, stopped. Mishemeis ben Zoma, Balu Hadar Shanim. Ben Zoma was very nice at saying a nice drasha on Shabbos morning. Mishemeis Rabbi Akiva, Batal Kavara Torah. Akiva died. The honor of Torah ceased. The people who performed these wonders, performed many miracles. Yosef Katanta died. The Chasidim died. There was no Breslov Chasidim. There was no Ger Chasidim. There was no pious people. That's the ArtScroll's translation. Why was he called Katanta, the small one? He was the smallest of all the pious people. Yochanan died. The splendor of wisdom. He didn't just know a lot of stuff. He said his wisdom in a beautiful way. The elder, the first Gamliel, Batal Kavod Torah was lost. Umesa, now it also is very Akiva Batal Kavod Torah. It's a different Kavod Torah here. Umesa Taro Precious. His Kavod Torah was Rabbi Akiva taught Torah the masses, right? That's why all Sphere had 24,000 Talmidim. Gamliel taught it more privately, Umesa Taro Precious, and therefore purity and abstaining from the world. He was more private. He lived a more hermetic life, and he abstained from a lot of stuff, and he taught Torah privately. The splendor of the kahuna stopped. When Rebbe died, true humility and fear of sin stopped. Tana Rabbanan, the Gemara says, Tana Rabbanan, Pinchas ben Yair Omer, B'shachar Beis Hamikdash Boshu Chaverim B'nei Chorin. When the Beis Hamikdash destroyed, the Chaverim were people that could be trusted, as opposed to Amei Ratzim, to follow the halachas of B'nei Chorin. And he freed people. The Chafu Rosham, they had to cover their heads in mourning. Even Adadlu Anshe Maisa, there were very few people who did acts that were, good for the community. The Gibru Bali Israel, people that were strong-handed, took over. The mafia took over. Bali Lashon, and people that spoke negatively of other people. No one was even asking or inquiring, who should we rely on? We have to rely on Hashem. Famous song by Mordechai ben David. Lezer Agadol Omer comes from this Gemara. Lezer Agadol Omer, Miyom Shachar Beis Hamikdash Sharu Chachamayel Meheve Kisafraya. When the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, the wise people became like scribes. Their level got lessened. Sifraya Chazanaya. The people that were scribes turned into Gabayim in the shul. Chazanaya Ka'amada'ara. Gabayim in the shul turned into regular commoners. Amada'ara, the people that were already commoners, on top of Mem Teram Beis, Azla Badildala. And they became lower and lower. No one was asking, who do we can trust? Hashem. Ve'ikvos Mashiach. This is a famous Gemara. Right before Mashiach is supposed to come, Chutzpah Yaske, there will be complete brazenness. People will disrespect each other. Yoker Yamir. Now this actually does apply nowadays. There'll be excessive inflation. Prices will go up. You see this all over the world. Definitely chutzpah yaske. There's definitely a lot of people who are brazen. Young kids on TikTok, very brazen. Hagefen tita imperia. There'll be abundant vines giving fruit. Nonetheless, wine is still expensive. Sounds like nowadays. Inflation, crazy. What's legitimate being kingdom, a king, the kings or the prime ministers, the presidents of countries will engage in minos. Now, exactly what minos is, heresy. You can say it's heresy, not telling you the truth about the Torah. And there's no musar. People won't give rebuke over people not acting properly. Beis Vadiel is nus, a place of counsel where people used to argue and debate about wisdom. It'll be for prostitutes. Galil Yecharov. Galil is the northern part of Israel. Will be destroyed. Gavlan Yashum. The Gavlan is the southern part of Israel. Will be desolate. People won't live there. I mean, you have the desert in Beersheba. People on the borders are Eretz Israel. They'll go from city to city, and they won't be treated graciously in the West Bank. It's difficult with some of the Palestinians. The Chachmos Sofrim Tisrach. The wisdom of the scribes will, go away. People will be disgusted by people who fear sin. There'll be a complete lack of truth. Young children, adolescents, they'll embarrass older people. When there's only one seat to sit in, right? The older people will get up for the young TikTok celebrities. Bain Menavel is Bas. Bain Menavelab. A son will make his father disgusting. He'll treat his father disgusting. Bas Kama Be'ima, a daughter will rise up against her mother. Kala Bechamosa, a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. Oy Ve'ish Anshe Beso. The enemies of a person will come from his house. The faces of the people are like dogs. A son is not embarrassed with his father. At that time, who can we rely on? Only on our Father in heaven. The Gemara says that they stopped at one point that the chasanim, the grooms, shouldn't wear wreaths around their head when they got married. That's only one shal melech v'gafres, made out of sulfur, these stones made out of quartz. Aval shal hadosh v'shal vered, one's made out of myrtle branches, vered, roses, mutter, it's allowed. Imagine men wearing wreaths of roses. V'shmuel amar av shal hadosh shal vered also. He says even those are also. Shal kinim v'shal chelas mutter, if they are reeds or some bush, basically some bush, not too fancy, that's mutter. Levi amar They even answered those. Levi taught that in a brayso. Even the ones of reeds are forbidden, and it's forbidden nowadays also. Al iras, my iras. Amar Lazar tavla dechad puma. It's talking a bell with one clapper. Rabba Rav Huna avad lebrei tanbura. He made for his son at his wedding a tambourine. Asa avua tavre. His father, the grandfather, came and broke it. Amar lei michlef tavla dechad puma. People will confuse it with a bell with a clapper. Zil avad lei. Go make for him instead a puma de chatzva, a puma de kafiza. Make for him a drum. Take a sheet and put it on top of an urn or put it on top of a pitcher. It'll be like a drum, bongo. The puma shall titos gazra altaros kalos. There goes there on the wreaths of brides. My ataros kalos. Amar Rabbi Rochana, Amar Yochanan, Ir shal zav. It's talking about what Rabbi Akiva made for his wife. It's basically a crown around her forehead with a golden image of Yerushalayim. Tanya nami hachi ezu ataros kalos Ir shal zav. It's a city, a picture of a city in gold. Aval osa osa kipa shal milas. You can make for her a cover, a head covering made out of fine wool. Tana, aval chubas chasanim gazra. They also goes there on the actual canopy when they got married in a canopy. Gazra, my chubas chasanim. What is that? Zahoris hamuz heves. It's basically when the curtains around the chuppah are made out of a crimson type of wool with gold around it. Tana haki elohin chubas chasanim zahoris hamuz havos. Crimson wool with gold. Aval osa papyrus v'tola ba'kol ma'ashirta. You can make. This is the minhag nowadays to make the wedding canopy out of lattice work, right? That you could do. Right, with small holes in it, and you can hang on it whatever you want. They also goes that you shouldn't teach your child Yavanis, Greek. What's the story behind this? When the kings from the house, the descendant from the house of Chashmonaim, Zalzeh, now Matisyahu, right, famous story on Hanukkah, he eventually had children. He was a Kohen. I believe his grandson or his great grandson was Yanai. We talked about it earlier. Alexander Yanai, who killed a lot of the rabbis. He had I believe his daughter, Alexandra Salome, was the queen after. And after him, her oldest child was Aristobulus, I believe. And Hyrcanus was another brother, younger brother, Prince Harry. He was upset that Aristobulus was the king. He wanted the kingship for himself. So Aristobulus was ensconced in Yerushalayim. And Hyrcanus laid siege to Yerushalayim. They still had to get animals for carbon tamid inside, so they would bribe them with gold coins, and they would get their animal. There was one elderly man outside who knew Greek wisdom. He told them in the Greek language. This was actually the Chachma Yavanis, the philosophy of the Greeks. He said, as long as they're engaged in doing the avoda, bring karbanos, they're not going to be. You're not going to be able to capture them. So the next day, Aristobulus and his friends inside, they tried to bribe them with golden coins. Instead of an animal, a sheep, they gave him a pig. When the pig was being lowered, it basically dug its nails in the wall. And Eretz Yisrael shook very, very violently. Once that incident happened, they said, cursed is the person who raises pigs. And cursed is someone who teaches his children the wisdom of the Greeks. That year, when they had the siege, when Hyrcanus was besieging the city, so they basically, when they were around the city, they took food from all the crops. Usually, the Minchas HaOmer and the Shtei HaLechem, which brought in Shavuos, came from right outside Yerushalayim. They had to bring it close so it would be more full and moist. But that year, they had to bring it from very far away, these places very far away, because there was nothing, they let their animals graze outside the city. There was no barley or wheat to be had. Aini, is this true? I'm a Rebbe. Eretz Yisrael Lashon Sorsi Lama. Rebbe said, Eretz Yisrael, why are you talking in Sorsi language? Eli Lashon HaKodesh, Lashon Yavanis. Either you speak in Hebrew or you speak in Greek. But Amar Rav Yosef, Bebavel Lashon Arami Lama. Why are you speaking Aramaic? El Lashon Kodesh, either Hebrew or Lashon Parsi or Persian. So you see that Rebbe said that it was okay. Rebbe lived after the basement was destroyed. He said you can speak Greek. Lashon Yavanis L'chud, V'chachmas Yavanis L'chud. No. He was talking about using the language, but the wisdom, the Greek philosophy, that would be banned. V'chachmas Yavanis Me'asira. Is Greek philosophy really banned? Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel Mishum Rishim L'Lil Ma'adich Sev Eni Olol L'Nafshi Min Kol B'Nos Iri. Rishon was talking about the house he grew up in. I believe this from Eicha. My eyes were crying. What happened to all the children in his city? There were 1,000 kids descended from his father's family. 500 of them were taught Torah. 500 of them learned Greek wisdom, Greek philosophy. And out of 1,000 people, only 2 people from the family left. Me and my first cousin, who lives in Asia. How could they learn it? How could they learn Chachmas Yivanis? The Gemara says, the Krov and the Malchus, they had to learn it because they had to talk with the governor, the kings, who were close. They were close to the kings. They had to know Chachmas Yivanis. Tanya Mesaper Kumi Harezim and Darchei Amor. Anyone who gets a haircut, Kumi, basically the article explains you shave all your hair, and you have like a ponytail, just a ponytail you see in some of the ancient cartoons about the Romans look like. Harezim Darchei Amori, that's forbidden. Avtolas ben Reuven, however, one of the Jews, when they allowed him to get this haircut, because he was close to the king, and that's the way all they had the haircuts. They wanted to fit in. Similarly, in the house of Gamliel, they allowed them to learn Chachmas Yivanis. They were close to the governor, and they had to be familiar with what they talked about. They were gozer that a kala should not walk through town in a whole entourage. My time, they should be more modest. Should try to save from the Churban bias. Once Eliezer ben Horkinus died, Nigna Sefer Torah. Sefer Torah, he was like a Sefer Torah. He knew the whole Torah. It was like put in archives. Yeshua died. Good advice, umachshava, and good thoughts were nullified, were taken away from Klal Yisrael. Torah, the arms that supported Torah were weakened. And the springs of where the wisdom were stopped up. The crown of Chachma was taken away from Klal Yisrael. The crown of Chachamim is their wisdom, meaning their wealth in Torah. Again, he was someone who did a lot of miracles. When he died, there were no more Chassidim. He was one of the smaller factions of Chassidus. He wasn't from Satmar, the biggest faction. He wasn't from Chabad, the second biggest faction. He wasn't from Gur, the third biggest faction. Or Belz, the fourth biggest faction. He was, Chernobyl. Papa, I don't know. Mishemeis ben Azai, Badu Ashakdana, when Azai died, the people are really diligent. He studied for a long time. Ben Azai didn't even get married. Mishemeis ben Zoma, Badu Hadarshanim. When Ben Zoma died, people who gave nice drushas on Shabbos morning died. Mishemeis ben Gamliel, Allah Govai, a lot of locusts consumed Eretz Yisrael, Rabu Tzaros, and there were a lot of Tzaros, bad things happened to Klal Yisrael. Mishmesh Rebbe Huchbalu Tzaros. When Rebbe died, it got even worse, the double amount of pains to Klal Yisrael. Mishmesh Rebbe Batlan Av Yeraschet. When Rebbe died, there was no more true humility and fear of sin. Amar Le Rav Yosef L'Tana. Yosef told to the Tana when he heard this brisa, Lo Sisner, or this Mishnah, Lo Sisner Anava, don't include Anava, the Ika Ana. I'm still alive. He's an Amora. Lived many years later in Bavel. I'm around. I'm truly humble. I'm really Rav Nachman L'Tana. When Rav Nachman heard this Mishnah, Lo Sisni Yeraschet, he said, don't mention Yeraschet, the Ika Ana, because I am someone who truly fears sin. Now, is this true humility or not? Stay tuned for the last thing in Ben Sion, where we'll basically wrap up, and I'll try to answer why most couples get divorced, and I think it has to do with this last line here in the Gemara, and the Gemara discussed a lot about this topic. We'll talk about that in Ben Sion. The last thing in Ben Sion is Sotah. Hopefully tomorrow I'll make a Siyum in a separate video, and we'll be starting Masechtas Gittin tomorrow. Very exciting. Go back to yeshiva, Gittin, Kedushin, Bava Kama, Bava Mitzvah, Bava Basra. Exciting for people who like yeshiva Masechtas. See you tomorrow, Maseches Gittin.